Alright, while the servers are down, we're gonna take a special look at a totally reasonable response by Disco Waffles. That's me. Alright, so here we are in a totally reasonable response by Disco Waffles. That is me. And we're just gonna do like a quick as we can run through the hard mode, see how far that we can get in 3 minutes. I haven't timed it. I haven't done a speed run of this level, so who knows? Oh fudge! Okay, darn it! See, that's what you get from Russian. I know that I did. Oh jeepers! Oh god! Come on, Disco! Come on! I remember when I did the 10 from 50 level, and you can actually speedrun that level in 3 minutes. But I have the feeling that this one is a little bit. It's chunkier. I'm so super happy with how this level turned out. I think it's a really, really good one. Even if it's one that I created, it was a good project. So I do feel a little bit like it's okay for me to be a little bit horn tooty about it and be like, yeah, no, this is a good level. It's a solid level. But oh god, we've only got 2 minutes left. Come on, faster. Yeah, so I'm kind of going for the idea of something that's very much in the LBP 1 / early LBP 2 vein. I wish, see, the servers are down right now, and that's why we're doing my level, because it's on my moon, and I can just play it because it's right there. But they're like definitely levels that I had in mind when I was doing some of the visual design of this level. We've got things like Stockton by Night, we've got Insomnia Town, and oh crud, there's like another one that Up in the Clouds, that was by 585. And there's a very particular look to those LBP era levels, but I wanted this a little bit boxier, a little bit squarer, to give it that kind of LBP 1 feel as well, and doing a bit of mix of LBP 1 era like logic, but mixed in with actual LBP 3 logic as well, because like straight up just LBP 1 logic is an absolute pain in the butt. Do hate it. But yeah, like I'm super happy with how the level turned out. It's very joyful, it's very cheery, but it's also manages to be a real gameplay experience, a real gameplay level, and that's what I was intending. I mean, it wasn't what I was intending when I first made the level, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we get into the breakdown. And this is going to be kind of neat, because we're going to be able to do a breakdown from the actual backstage of the level, which is kind of cool. It's not something that we would normally have the chance to do. We got about 3/4 of the way through the level in 3 minutes. I kind of feel like that's pretty decent, but the bell is ringing, so we are going to have to go back to the backstage, and we'll see you there. See yas! And we're back, and a totally reasonable response by Ritsuko Waffles. That's me, and here backstage, and I didn't grade the level because it is my level, and I do want to take a serious look in the back here, but it did feel a little bit maybe weird to say if it's a green circle, but it's a green circle. I mean, I feel like it is, and if I had played this level by anybody else, I would have graded it the same. I think it's a really strong level. I'm really, really proud of the work that went into this level and the final result of it, and I think it's a really solid level with pretty good pacing, interesting mix of obstacles, nice grading scale of difficulty, and I'm happy with it, but it is mine, so it's like you give your own work the best possible grade, and it feels a little bit weird. As we kind of talked about a little bit in the first impressions, well, the impressions section, and the level really wasn't supposed to be a level. It was mostly a response to the response that I got to that Craft World by Rail, the Gardens level that I published, and I've got some folks who were a little bit weird about the very small amount of queer rep that was in that level, and the weird thing, and I think I talked about this in the Little Bite-Sized Planet we did about Craft World by Rail, and like, I hadn't put the flags and stuff in that level as queer rep, so to speak, like with an agenda to say something. It was just like, yeah, I'm queer, and I put up these flags because like they make me happy, and people got weird about it. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna do kind of like a shitpost. And originally the level was just gonna be this, with the little speech at the beginning. We were gonna have the question, how do you feel about queer folks? And then if somebody answered in the negative, oh, I don't like queer folks, they're weird or something, we were gonna transport them up to this checkpoint, which had one score bubble with 1 point. Oh. Nope. There you go. Yeah, 1 point score bubble. And when this tag disappeared, it would end the level and send them to the checkboard, the scoreboard. And I wanted to do that because it would force them to be on the scoreboard. It would count the level as having been completed. Oh, that's not the scoreboard. There we are. And then, everybody could see what jerks were actually out there and would be like, oh yeah, I hate queer people. And that was the original idea. And we were just going to have, like, for the folks who were normal, we were just going to have a walkover to, get a couple of score bubbles and complete the level. And that was kind of fun. And then I got the idea of, like, well, what if we put in a little bit of gameplay? Just a little bit, for something for players to do so they feel like they didn't waste their time if they're not here for, like, the message. And a little bit of gameplay kind of evolved and became more gameplay and more gameplay and more level design and working out all those problems that come when you're making levels. And eventually we ended up with, something pretty sizable. The level takes about, if you really speed run it, I think you can get the level done in, if you do the full level, if you don't do the quick end, I think you can get the level done in, around 6 to 7 minutes if you're really, nailing every jump. The slowdown points, there are a couple of points where I was not super happy because the pace kind of slows down a little bit in a way I didn't necessarily like, but I couldn't figure out how to get quicker. These bouncers were one thing that, while I like them, and I kind of think they're a fun mechanic, the fact that you've got to wait for so long to get them to go, it does kind of, I feel like it kind of kills the pace in a not particularly useful way, I suppose. But, yeah, level ended up being pretty darn chunky. had a lot of stuff going on in the level. This was one of my favorite bits. We've had throughout the level, we see a number of places where you can, if you choose, and that was something else I was really happy about, was that we got the, what's up with that slowdown? What's up with that camera? That's not what the camera's supposed to do there. What the hell? Okay, that was super weird. So we got these checkpoints where you could change on the fly the difficulty of the level, and I really like that technique of building because I ended up having to think a lot about how individual sections played and making sure that the individual sections were enjoyable. I tried to do checkpoints, or I tried to do difficulty selectors in levels before, and they were always for the entire level, and I kind of feel like that this made it a lot easier for me to grasp what I was doing in any section, which made it a little bit easier to think of things like flow and to think about how can I make both sides, the scenic side and the challenge side, enjoyable for players. But a number of times throughout the level that we've got these flaming floors that the player is dealing with the first time here, and it's just the fire coming towards you, which means it's really easy to jump over because the fire is moving in the opposite direction as the player, so you don't really have to do a major jump to get beyond it, to get around it. And then we move up to a more difficult form of that here, where you've got the, if it spawns, where you've got the section that's safe is like a narrow section, not too narrow, but a narrow section that the player's gonna have to stay within. And originally this bit here, these were all gonna move, and we tried that a number of times. We just play tested it and went back and forth, and I showed video to folks like Kronos and Soup, both of whom were massive helps in doing this level. And the experience of making this level in community, because I did a lot of the level build on stream, and not just Kronos and Soup, but also like just everybody in the empty room kind of giving their ideas and giving their encouragement, and it really made a huge difference to the end result of the level, and it made it feel like it was a community project, which is another reason that I'm so proud of it. But so the moving pillar section, that was not great. That eventually ended up not really working out all that wonderfully. But so you've got like the graded hazard, it steps up in difficulty, and then here where you can't really avoid so much the fire, even though the fire is nice and slow, because you're also trying to manipulate this little bit of mechanics, so you're kind of trapped in place. And I thought that was a really neat effect, and you can see how that brings these down. But then also thinking about like, okay, not just, you know, how does this work on the hard side, but then making sure you've got like this passage here for the scenic side, and that's going to be interesting to players as well. And even in this bit where we're presaging a later obstacle that we'll be seeing in the level in a bit of an easier form. I keep on getting killed there. Like, that's really silly. Take a look at that with no skin on. Originally those were lights, but they're just sticker material now, I think. Beep, beep. I love this. I loved like incorporating little bits of LBP1 type logic along with the LBP3 stuff, but I just want to do a quick check. Glass. Hello. Yeah, it's just a sticker panel. Looks really nice though. Behind the glass, it looks like a actual light, but we end up seeing these later on in the level in a much more difficult form where they're dropping out from beneath you. Getting the sound design on those, by the way, was a whole kind of thing. Got a lot of these signs in the level, and I honestly just loved that. I wanted the level to be, once the level became a level, and I really wanted it to be extremely queer, which it is, but also like I wanted it to be fun. I mean, not just fun as in you're playing a level and it's fun, but like we get this focus, I think, in media on kind of the tragedy of queerness, how difficult it is to live as a queer person, and you got trouble with society, and you got trouble with family, and like a lot of the messaging is like negative but persevering, and I really wanted to bring to other queer players, but also to cis players and straight players, like, no, this is a very joyous experience. I'm so happy being who I am and knowing who I am. It's made such a difference in my life to recognize those things. It's been such a source of strength for me. And so, like, yeah, I wanted to be kind of cheeky with the signage, and I wanted to be kind of joyful with the signage while still kind of keeping a message going on, and that was like really an important point for me. Carpenters, because, okay, so in Japanese, the word for carpenter, or a word for carpenter, because there's a couple different words depending on the type of building that's being done, but one of the words for carpenters is daiku, which would be a homophone for the English dyke, which I am. So, you know, carpenters. I thought that was funny. I thought that was cute. Luna Clinic is just, that's the gender clinic that I go to get my estrogel. I just, like, you know, I'm really happy to be on HRT, and I know HRT is not like a thing that every trans person needs to do. It's not, like, necessary. It's very much person by person. But I'm really happy about it, and it's made my life really good, honestly. Bye-bye birdies, yo. Bye-bye birdies! My favorite sign, though, is the 3 squares for 4 bears. 3 squares, 4 bears. And I think it's a great visual pun. I think that visual puns are an unrecognized form of humor. But, like, all of these sections, looking at this section, I'll put up some B-roll, but, like, the way that this looked when I first kind of put together what this section was going to be like, and it's so much improved now because of all the feedback that I got from people. So this level's not just my success, and I do think that the level is a success. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna toot my own horn, but, like, I do think it's a really good level. But it's owing a large deal to the help that I got from everybody, and the encouragement and the feedback that I got from everybody. Got more of these kind of LBP1 era, LBP style bits of logic. Oh no, that's my alarm, because it's early morning here. Where there's a tag on here, and when the tag gets to the top, that it spawns it, and then when it gets to the bottom, it will destroy this. Like, it's the same tag sensor, basically. But yeah, like, got to try out a whole lot of neat new things. It was really, really cool. Got to say some stuff that I thought was really important to say. Show those off. Got the cannons here. Now this little bit here was pretty fun and interesting in that if you stay on this long enough, that it will start to drag you backwards. Now I could have made this a little bit more unforgiving, but I did want the level to be kind of enjoyable for players. I was aiming more for enjoyment than I was for challenge. Although I wanted some challenge in there. I wouldn't have had challenge mode, but which is another thing. Like, I really wanted to think about accessibility. Something the last couple of years I've been thinking a lot about disability issues and accessibility issues, my own, but also, you know, other people's, and how these things work out for folks. And I really wanted to make sure that there was, like, that the scenic side of the level was as accessible as possible, without penalizing the player. Because, like, a lot of times that you get modes where it's like, okay, this is an easier mode, but you're gonna miss out on content. Or this is an easier mode, but, like, you're not gonna get as many points. And even one of the first times that when I was gonna do the archive level, which eventually ended up not being made, but, like, I was gonna have it so that if you chose scenic mode, that it would destroy, like, 1/3 of the score bubbles in the level. There was, like, a destroyer bit of logic on there, and but the more I thought about that, and the more I've been, like, talking with people about that, and I really wanted to make sure that the experience would, I mean, there's differences in experience, because, like, the hard mode, quote unquote, is a little bit requiring more of the player, but that they would be able to see all the same things, and they would be able to get, like, all the same points. So there's no penalty, and that was a really important thing for me. I don't want to penalize anybody for that. Got this like old school elevator gondola. And this is another thing where when we first made this, and it was really swingy, like it was very, very awkward, and putting in that the counterweight on the bottom there, and that was Chronos 453's idea, because I wouldn't have thought of that, because I don't really know engineering at all, and I know LBP, but not that great. I'm not like a physics queen, so Chronos is just like, yeah, put like a counterweight like they do in the old temples level, and that should sort it for you, and it did. Got our queer signs here. Apparently queer is a bad word in LBP. I know there's a lot of debate as to whether or not queer is a slur or not. It can be used as a slur, it has been used as a slur, but I think it's a beautiful word, and I'm happy to be queer, so even though I couldn't put queer in any of the dialogue bubbles, that's why it says LGBTQ in the beginning dialogue, I wanted to say queer, but couldn't. But I wanted to get the word into the level. I put this down here, and originally I thought the only way to get down here was with this swing. It was just an accidental discovery. Supum showed me that that was not in fact true. There's a lot of ways to get down to this section that I eventually, I think, got completely closed off. Like, I never thought people would jump off the collector. So I had to put in a little bit of a teleport here. Lots of little things that Supum really, really helped, because Supum, with the archive that he does, and he would record for his archive, and then we would chat about it, and he would send me like video clips, or he would send me pictures and be like, what do you think? Did you intend this? Is this something that you want to fix? And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could get up there. I am in the level. Usually I use just like a sack thing for myself, but I wanted to be as close to the way I look in Meat Space. My hair's not blue, but I do look basically like this. And when I talked to the queer players, because I did want to have a special message for them, because sometimes, sometimes things can be tough, as joyous as our lives can be. Sometimes they can be tough, so I wanted a special shout out to them. But then I thought that, only having a secret for the queer players was maybe a little bit, like, I didn't want to be rude to the straight folks, the cis folks, so I did put in an extra set of secrets so that you could also get your free, I mean, you have to look for them, but you could also get your point bubbles. Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff. 3 squares, 4 bears. There's a lot of stuff going on in this level, and I am ultimately really proud about how it turned out. And just think, I probably would not have made this level if a lot of people hadn't gotten really weird about a couple of flags in a train level. So, hey, you folks that got really weird, this is your fault. I mean, in a way, I take responsibility for this because, like, I made it. I made the choice to do this, but, like, I probably wouldn't have done this if somebody hadn't been a jerk. So, if you don't like this, if you think that this is, some folks, I'm not going to put stuff up on the screen, but some folks had, if I thought the reaction to the flag level was bad, some folks reacted really badly to this one. The guy who told me to kill myself, well, told all queer people to kill ourselves, fuck that dude, by the way. I actually got worse messages than him. So, kind of a thing, but, yep. I think that's, like I've said everything I want to say. I love the design, the presentation. I was going for something, there was like a particular trend, there's a particular, I feel like, style of presenting cities in LBP2 levels, like the gameplay, I really wanted LBP1 feel, but the presentation, there was a lot of LBP2 levels that had this kind of presentation of urban environments where things were like not quite straight. You had a lot of the buildings that were not perfect rectangles, but were kind of pulled off a little bit. Things that were like over large, and we see it in like Over the Clouds by 585. There's like Stockton by Night, we see it in that, and a little bit in Insomniac Town. They're all things that I've covered on channel before, and I really love that style, and I was really thinking about that style a lot when I put the level together. Even like with these kind of signs, I think I've seen these in other levels, signs that look like this, so I'm really glad I kind of got that to work, because it's a presentation style that I think just looks really, really cool. So, got it. Supam begged me to cover up the hats on these poor kids so that nobody would squish them, but I thought to myself, who would squish these babies? If you did, I mean, it's kind of bad. You shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. You made a mistake. But yes, folks, this is not our last episode. This is not necessarily our last review, but the servers are kind of a mess right now. It's obviously a really big deal. Maybe by the time that you're watching this, they will be not a mess and we can go back to business as usual, but who knows how long that will last. We are going to have one more definite review episode for the 2nd of February. We're going to take a look at Distress in Ocean. We could do that because it was a copyable level and I copied it to my moon, just because I wanted to look in the back of it. So we'll do that for next week, and then after that, it's really going to depend on what the servers, what Sumo does with the servers. I've got my fingers crossed, but who can say? But I can say that these last 8 years have been amazing for me. I've loved doing this. I hope that I get a chance to do this at least a little bit longer. I'm going to be honest, even if they get the servers back up and online, I don't expect them to last more than another year. I'd love to be wrong, but just being honest about my expectations. But in case that we are coming towards the end, I will do like one last goodbye video when that time comes, but let me say just right now that this has been amazing. Y'all have been amazing. I cannot thank you enough for the love and support that you've given me, and I hope that I've been able to give a little bit of that back. But it is the morning and I have work today, so I do have to go. So from me, Disco, here in Tokyo, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao. Queer love!